that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-833-001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-41. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us Love 101 FM Facebook, the YouTube Live. In the first watch today, the crisis in India, concern and the consideration. In the second watch, U.S. Catholic bishops, President Biden, and the forbidding of communion. For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on the COVID-19 crisis in India? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag, The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I Quote.
This morning's I Quote. Silence is golden. An example is the best teacher. So, is a silent example a golden teacher, or is a silent teacher a golden example? That's quite interesting.
Where get these quotes from?
I don't know, and it's unknown.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rev. How are you?
I'm well. I hear you with your dabba dooya. I will be going to play my favorite tune, you know.
I think I played it. I did. I played it yesterday.
Yesterday, Sharpie?
Yes, I did.
Oh, my.
You missed it.
I missed it, man. Let me just say Happy Teachers Day to all the teachers out there.
Yes.
Did you have a favorite teacher or teachers, Shivani?
I did. Yeah.
Name two of them.
There's Miss Masters. There is David Brian Campbell. There's Denise McPherson, and I can go on and on and on.
Big up to all of them because they all played a part in grooming and shaping.
Indeed.
Shavani Blair.
Yes.
Rising
and then Jerome Shepard too. I mean, yes, I'll touch base with them later.
Lot of them,
a lot.
All right. Bless you.
Yes.
The first one should be back after this break.
Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station. As we face this COVID-19 pandemic, be kind and support loved ones during this time. Check in regularly on others, especially those who are affected. Encourage them to keep doing what they enjoy. Share accurate COVID-related information with them to manage anxiety. I am Jonathan Fletcher from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
If you want to understand God's promises and plans for you, then you need to start in the pages of the Bible. Moving you forward in your relationship with Jesus Christ, that's what Back to the Bible is all about. Discover truth, wisdom, and direction for your life. Listen to Back to the Bible every weekday afternoon at 12:30 right here on Love 101 FM, the family station.
I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, in this, the first watch, we're talking about the COVID-19 crisis in India. But first, let's listen to this BBC report.
Has this report?
Patients continue to arrive at hospitals struggling to breathe, needing urgent treatment. But the health system is close to collapse. Almost 350,000 new cases in the latest daily figures, another record. This man is desperate to find help for his sister in Delhi.
I've been trying non-stop for 3 days from one hospital to another. I've never seen anything so terrible ever in my life.
What's needed above all is oxygen. Patients are dying because it's running out. But these are the scenes inside many hospitals, pushed to their limits. The World Health Organization says the situation in India is a devastating reminder of what coronavirus can do, and doctors are feeling the strain.
It's been 20 years or so I've been into this profession, and I've never seen this kind of a crisis situation, and I hope that nobody else sees it and we never see it again, because the kind of numbers are there, the lack of infrastructure we are facing, the supplies, and the physical stress, because it's a highly contagious illness. So the healthcare workers are also getting infected. So it is acting as a double whammy, as well as having problem from the manpower as well as the supplies. So it is a very, very difficult scenario.
At this plant in the state of Uttar Pradesh, hospital staff are among those queuing up, trying to get supplies of oxygen. The government says it's distributing it to some of the hardest hit areas, using the train and also the plane. The Air Force has been called in to help. Customs duties on imports of medical-grade oxygen have been axed to try to boost the availability. But critics say it's too little, too late. Earlier this year, the government thought it had beaten the virus. With cases falling, vaccines were being exported, and the health minister said India was in the end game of the pandemic. But the emergence of new variants, as well as mass gatherings, has completely changed the picture. The US is promising additional support to India to tackle what it's calling an horrific outbreak. With record numbers of new cases and deaths, there will be many tough days ahead. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Hi everyone, I'm Noemi.
Okay, well, you have heard that, listeners. To enlighten and educate us more on the crisis facing India at this time, we have two guests joining us live from India. Professor Stephen Victor, trainer in strategic project management and hospital administration, among other things, and Dr. Sudha Jasmine, Doctor of Internal Medicine working with COVID patients at Christian Medical College in India. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, good to have you with us this morning, all the way from India. Wow. All right, would you please tell us where in India do you really live? Beginning with you, Dr. Jasmine.
I work in Christian Medical College, Vellore. As you said, we are located in South India. So it's the better part of India, so to speak. So, and ours is a 100-year-old, more than a 100-year-old institution. And we have about 3,000 beds on a normal working time. So we are a well-equipped tertiary care center, which also does training of individuals, of doctors, and across the whole board.
Yes. Professor Victor, where exactly in India are you?
I live in the north of India, a state called Punjab, and
Yes.
I live in a city called Ludhiana, and I teach there. And of course, I used to work with the Christian Medical College in Ludhiana also. It does have another Christian Medical College, which is just celebrated 125 years of existence.
Congrats. Okay. So let me Dr. Jasmine, you are what part of India? I perhaps missed that.
This is South India, closer to Chennai, that you may have heard.
Yes.
It's a place called Vellore, which is about 100 kilometers from Chennai.
Okay, okay. And Professor Victor is in North India.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay, right. How bad are things in India today? Generally speaking, was that audio report accurate, understated, or overstated? Dr. Jasmine?
Very accurate. And maybe the scene is going to get even worse as the days go on. We are seeing a spike in the number of cases at a rate that we are not able to handle. We have increased our intensive care for COVID very quickly. Within a couple of weeks' time, we've increased it from 12 to 100 beds, and it's still not enough. We still have at least another 50, 60 patients on a waiting list, waiting to get into intensive care from the wards, and we are regularly turning away patients because we just don't have beds.
Professor Victor, from your perspective, how bad are things?
Yeah, it's really bad. And personally, for the last 1 week, I was inside a COVID hospital taking care of my son who had contracted the COVID-19.
Sorry to hear that.
And it's really, really bad in the sense patients keep coming. And by God's grace, the facility where I was there had a continuous supply of oxygen. And even there were some interruptions somewhere in the middle of the night, causing panic. And it was really a stressful time for a whole week. Just being inside a COVID facility, being a bedside attendant, I think we have never seen such kind of deep need for medical care ever in India, I could say.
Yes. Well, could you now give us some figures as you are getting them there in India? The daily COVID infection rate, the deaths.
Yeah, officially today I just pulled out from the internet from a very reliable source. It says 3,780 deaths in the last 24 hours, which is the highest toll ever since the pandemic began. And I would say even this particular figure is not the complete figure. The actual figure might be higher because in villages and smaller places, the deaths don't get documented. So it's really a sad scene. 3,780 people lost their lives in the last 24 hours.
Yes. And an infection rate on a daily basis is approximately what now?
Probably Dr. Sudha might be able to throw some light on that.
All right. Dr. Jasmine?
There's something called as swab positivity based on how many you screen and how many turn positive.
Yes.
So that is more accurate kind of information than counting the number of swabs that are positive. And that positivity rate is closer to 80-90% at this point in time.
Wow. Wow. And you know, how's been the response in regards to the health sector to these challenges, Professor Victor?
Actually, when we look at the amount of money that is spent on healthcare in India, it's close to about 3 to 4% of the GDP, which is very, very less in our country. And probably this pandemic or this experience will help the Indian government to allocate more funds for healthcare. When we look at other countries, many countries spend close to 9 or 10% of the gross domestic product, that is GDP, for healthcare.
Yes, I'm sorry, Professor Victor. I'm sorry, Professor.
Yes.
Could you just hold that thought? We're at a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Banana Board is
7:15.
Digicel, top the game 20 years and going. Long at the smartphone, so HD showing. Digicel broadband and service, how the nation network.
Digicel born and raised in Jamaica. Been I did this for the love of the paper. 20 years and counting, ain't that something? Ain't that
we
something?
Keep getting better and better. How we step on the scene, people they must say Digicel forever. Technology we keep the kids them clever, and the service is a pleasure. So Digicel, I feel me sell, yeah.
Entrepreneurs, now you've got more support in your corner. Introducing Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center, where entrepreneurs benefit from free training in business management, financial support and guidance from pros, as well as research capabilities. Sagicor Bank, in partnership with the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, brings you this first center of its kind for small entrepreneurs to develop and grow. Let's help you take your business to the next level of success. Contact Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center today. WhatsApp 876-997-3745.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are looking at the crisis in India. And we have online Dr. Sudha Jasmine, Doctor of Internal Medicine, working with COVID patients at Christian Medical College in India, and Professor Stephen Victor, trainer in strategic project management and hospital administration. Professor Victor, before the break, you were telling us about the health sector over there and the response to this crisis.
That's right. Yeah, the healthcare sector response has been, the government response has been not so good, in the sense that in the past, fund allocation for healthcare hasn't been as it should have been. But unfortunately, as you can see, government machineries don't have that kind of efficiency. It doesn't trickle down to the common man to the extent it should be. And that's where Christian agencies and hospitals and other private service providers have come in, and where they can make a difference. I see a lot of institutions like Christian Medical College have stepped in and made a small extra mile that during this COVID times, that they have tried to help people get access to medical care.
Yes. And would you like to say anything on that, Dr. Jasmine?
I think health allocation is common knowledge. In India, I think it's a fraction of what it should be, and health has not been given the priority that it should probably have been. And the response now, is it optimal? Far from it, but I think that leaves a lot to be desired from the governmental agencies. From the Christian sector, yes, people have not been backing away, but everyone's put their hand into the ring, so to speak. Everyone's kind of stepped up the amount of work that they do. We have, for example, in Christian Medical College, we have at least about 500 plus patients at this point in time, and we are increasing our capacity each day. And more people from every specialty are into working with COVID. It's not just internal medicine or infectious disease. We are training across the whole institution and getting all of them into the fray, so to speak. So we have every kind of doctors who are taking care of these patients. We do write off or give concession on bills of patients in CMC. Although there is that does dent our income, we do give a lot of write-off, basically because healthcare in India comes out of the pocket of people. It is not paid by the government. And one illness is enough to push a whole family to below the poverty line. And we have families where there are not just one, but whole families admitted. There are people who've lost like one parent, the other parent is still admitted. So there is the crisis is really it's hitting emotionally, not just physical exhaustion, but the emotional exhaustion of trying to deal with this is hitting everywhere. It's pan India. It's not just for the patients. It's not just for the relatives. It's not just the doctors. It's everywhere. The distress is real.
Mm. Ah, the BBC report highlighted the shortage in terms of oxygen. What are the other main challenges facing this crisis now, Professor Victor?
I think apart from the supply of oxygen, the supplies of other medicines and care for the patients, that is a huge need, because the patients require oxygen when they have actually reached a stage when they call it as cytokine attack or whatever it is. It's an inflammatory stage. But there is another stage which is at the preliminary stage when they need immediate attention and perhaps the other kinds of treatment that will help them and prevent them from going to that particular stage where medication availability of other medication and care is important, so that patients don't go to this particular stage.
Mm. From your perspective, what really caused the spike in the COVID-19 cases, Dr. Jasmine?
I think we very I think we were very quick to declare victory within the country, and people have been very lax with regards to masks, social distancing, with regards to use of masks, social distancing. I think there have been such, you already saw how, at least in North India, there have been these huge gatherings that shouldn't have been allowed. There was an election that happened in South India, in Tamil Nadu, where I work. So 5 states went for election just recently. So so the election rallies that happened in these states. So there were multiple factors, and I think the preparedness for the second wave was lacking. We even as doctors, I think we underestimated how large the second wave could be. We did see what was happening in UK.
Yeah.
But somehow I think that preparedness didn't really hit everyone here till it started pouring in patients as it did a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, you mentioned about the large gatherings, the Hindu festivals, where they went into a particular river and were bathing and all of that.
Yeah, so that Kumbh Mela is supposed to happen next year, not this year. But for some astrological reason, it was decided to prepone it. And see, we just have to go with people have different beliefs.
Yeah.
But I think science should have advised some, and I think that didn't happen.
Your take on that, Prof?
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of mistaken beliefs, and there are some people who have released some medicines or some concoctions saying that these kind of pills will help you to prevent COVID. And people in all their ignorance have thought that if they take these things, and these are not scientifically proven, and it's unfortunate that even the government has kind of authorized these kind of parallel treatments. And many people have blindly believed that while taking these some kind of concoctions or pills which have not undergone any testing, any kind of sample testing where scientific analysis have been done, but people have been consuming that blindly thinking that they will be protected from the virus. I would think this is another factor which has kind of let loose, and when the virus really attacked them, they didn't have any defenses. And one of the reasons why in India we've seen such a lot of cases is because of blind beliefs and ignorance of the people.
What about the vaccination campaign? How are things going there? What's the general response of the Indian population to getting vaccinated? Dr. Jasmine.
So the vaccine started with phases. So the initial phase, it was only for the healthcare workers. Then the second phase was only for people who were elderly or with risk factors. And by about May 1st, I think the vaccine got released for people who are 45 and above. And a couple of weeks ago, it was 45 and above. And from May 1st, it is 18 above. So the problem is that there was a lot of hesitancy in the groups. The healthcare workers, I think most of them are vaccinated, except maybe people who are pregnant, at least. But I think the high risk groups, 60 and the high risk groups, there was a lot of vaccine hesitancy. So a lot of time got lost because it wasn't a universal rollout. I think if we had had a university rollout right from the beginning, at least people who are interested in getting the vaccine could have got it. But because there was these different phases, there was a lot of hesitancy. There were some complications that were highlighted, and there were a lot of WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a huge social media impact in India, and a lot of fake messages going around in WhatsApp saying that the little few risks were highlighted a lot more than the benefits. And by the time people rush to get the vaccine because the COVID wave has hit, the vaccines have kind of run out. So that's a sad state as well. It's an opportunity lost.
Isn't it ironic that vaccines are produced there in India? Some were sent to Jamaica, the AstraZeneca, and yet still we're hearing of this type of response to getting vaccinated over there. Professor Victor, your take on that?
Yeah, actually, opinion is divided, and as Dr. Jasmine had pointed out, there is a lot of misinformation, and some people say we'll refuse to take the vaccine because we think it's not going to help us. And that is, in fact, I hear a lot of wastage also has happened because once they open a vial and that has to be used up, and out of the 100 people who said they are going to come, probably 70 people turned up, and that was a pathetic state.
Yes. Well, you're speaking to a Jamaican audience primarily, and across the world. What lessons should Jamaica and other nations learn from your experiences in India so far? First with you, Dr. Jasmine, and then Professor Victor.
Okay, I would probably emphasize on these three things. The first one is wearing masks, and if that is a universal practice, not to gather in groups, maintain social distancing, and frequent hand wash. I think those three are essential. Don't let your guard down. And with regards to vaccines are efficacious. The efficacy of the vaccine do vary. I'm not saying they're 100%, but if you are vaccinated, you tend to have a less severe disease than if you are not. So the overwhelming odds is, if you look at the risk and the benefit is much, much more. There are few risks which is associated with any vaccine, as it is with any medicine. But if you look at the benefit, it is overwhelmingly in favor of taking the vaccine. So I would suggest to take the vaccine to all the patients and people in Jamaica whenever your vaccine rollouts do happen. And all the very best. I hope you can prevent something similar from happening there.
Half a minute, Professor Victor, half a minute.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would say maintain good general hygiene and do your exercises, keep fit, and ensure that you follow these principles that Dr. Jasmine has already mentioned. Thank you very much.
Okay. We want to thank Professor Victor and Dr. Jasmine for joining us all the way from India for this informative and insightful discussion. Stay safe and keep up the good work. God bless you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
You too.
It was a pleasure joining you all.
Thank you. Listeners, the Morning Watch.
God bless you, Major.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:31 on the Family Station, Love 101.
I'm looking for a new pizza joint with that perfect crust. My car needs a bit of a tune-up, and my pregnant wife needs something from the pharmacy. So I turned to the printed yellow directory, and in an instant, the pizzas are ordered, the oil change is booked, and the thing that I'm not allowed to say out loud has been purchased for my wife. Problem solved. When you need something quick, do yourself a favor. Flip through the printed yellow directory. Stop searching, start finding. Yellow, we know local.
From the day the best dressed chicken is hatched, it is fed right with a healthy diet of grains, seeds, and corn. Jamaica's only chicken raised with no antibiotics ever. For years, the best dressed chicken has been innovating to achieve this very important promise and commitment to you and your family. Look for our no antibiotics ever promise on every package.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's have a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, back to school, kids gear up for external exams. And then Harrow denies meddling claims. There's a new scrutiny on ODPM board's pricey meetings. And then Chuck pleads with judges for tougher sentences. In the Observer, over 60 arrested, charged at illegal party in Westmoreland. And still in the danger zone, curfew extended to June 3. And finally, we see here that the House pays tribute to Ambassador Johnson. Those are some of the major stories and headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. What are your thoughts on the COVID-19 crisis in India? Leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
This World of Worship Wednesday Inside Live on May 5 will be another show packed with worship and excitement. 2 o'clock, John's of Prayer Blast. At 2:15, we'll feature minister and music teacher Fabian Wright as our worship artist of the day. Then at 3 p.m. inside the Love Drama House, we bring you Making Lemonade, episode 4, titled My Brother's Keeper. All this and more will come alive on the family station, Love 101.
You have made a difference. A good teacher is one who can inspire hope, ignite imagination, and instill a love of learning. To all our teachers who have pushed through, even through 2020, and now in 2021, with all that we are facing, you are still shining and instilling hope and love in children all around the world. Happy Teachers Day from Love 101.
A safe place to grow, a place for us to
Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station. As we face this COVID-19 pandemic, be kind and support loved ones during this time. Check in regularly on others, especially those who are affected. Encourage them to keep doing what they enjoy. Share accurate COVID-related information with them to manage anxiety. I am Jonathan Fletcher from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and let's join Shavani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on the COVID-19 crisis in India, Shavani?
This one says it is very sad. Yes, a very sad situation. Only God can help, while authorities all over do what they can do. Yes, we continue to pray for them and the whole world. Let me see if there is anything else. Oh, they're all just saying Happy Teacher's Day. All right.
Okay. Understood.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's right.
And thanks to those who took time out to send their comments. We appreciate it. Now, in a recent Gleaner insert entitled Catholic Bishops May Press Biden, that's President Biden, to stop taking communion, the following was reported, and I quote, "When U.S. Catholic bishops hold their next national meeting in June, they'll be deciding whether to send a tougher than ever message to President Joe Biden and other Catholic politicians. Here's the message. Don't receive communion if you persist in public advocacy of abortion rights." Now, end of quote. What is this all about, really? And what are the views of the church in Jamaica in this regard? Well, to discuss this and other related issues, we have joining us Archbishop Kenneth Richards, Archdiocese of Kingston, and Bishop Conrad Pitkin, Custos of St. James and past president of the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bishop. Oh, he's not on as yet. All right. Archbishop Richards, good morning again, sir.
Good morning to you.
Yes, good to have you. Hope you're doing well.
By the grace of God.
Yes. All right. Your initial response, Archbishop, to the aforementioned Gleaner report.
What is the concern of the bishops in the United States? I mean, although there's some division with respect to the current approach, but underlining the concern is the fact that President Biden, as a Catholic, described himself as a practicing Catholic. And the problem that the bishops have is that he receives the Eucharist. And for them, receiving the Eucharist have quite a few profound expectations and speak to a reality of union with the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so a person who's a Catholic and receives communion must be first that is baptized. Secondly, the person must be in a state of grace. That means no mortal sin. And if there's any sin, that would have gone to the sacrament of reconciliation to confess their sins and make themselves disposed to receive the Eucharist in a state of grace.
Well, just a minute, Archbishop. No mortal what?
Sin.
Sin. And what does that mean?
Any of the grave sins of the 10 Commandments.
Oh.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And also, receiving communion also indicates that the person is in union with the church, the teachings of the church. And as you know, abortion is one of those principles that the church advocates against, because it's lined up under the 6th commandment, thou shalt not kill. So the church has a grave responsibility with respect to the inviolability of our life from conception to natural death.
Yes.
And so because President Biden has listed restrictions on federal funding for research involving human fetal tissue, and because he rescinded the previous administration's policy barring organizations such as Planned Parenthood from receiving federal funding for women seeking abortion, and also because he has...
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Archbishop Richards, are you still there? Oh,
yes, I'm still here.
The line is coming in and out from my end. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yes, And then because he has made provision for the abortion pill for women. And so the church finds these are contrary to what it means to be in union with the teachings of the church. And taking the Eucharist, it would be contrary and not a manifestation of that union with the teachings of the church. Now, as I mentioned, there's division because some bishops think that, we know that the Cardinal of Washington, D.C., Britton Gregory, has made provision for us not denying President Biden from receiving the Eucharist because it says that they are a family, and if there's disagreement in the family, we should not exclude that person from the family. And also the Bishop of Wilmington has hold that position. And then there are some bishops who think that, like Bishop Stool, who think that the church should not use the Eucharist and weaponize it to cause persons to force them into submission.
Yes.
Another bishop also made reference to the fact that Pope Francis has asked the church to include emphasis with respect to regard for the environment, migration issues, and inequality issues, and do not become too preoccupied only with the issue on abortion. And so that is causing some kind of tension within the American church.
Wow. Well, that's a whole lot there. I'm not sure if Bishop Pitkin is on. Okay, we're having difficulty connecting apparently with Bishop Pitkin. So before we go to break, Archbishop Richards, the abortion in terms of the Roman Catholic perspective, is it no abortion at all? Absolutely none, even if it were in the case of the mother's life being threatened, raped?
Yes. So the position of the church is that intentional attack on a life is not permissible because life is inviolable. And so in exceptional circumstances, for argument's sake, it made reference to rape. The church recommends protocol with respect to if a woman is violated in this way, to seek medical care that maybe would prevent conception under those circumstances. But because of the inviolability of life, once life is conceived, the church believes that we have no right to endanger or to attack that life directly. With respect to a mother in danger of death because of medical complications with respect to her pregnancy, even in that circumstances, the church thinks that it will be a moral evil to directly seek to end and terminate the life of the child. Medical advancement is such nowadays that can mitigate, the threat of a woman with a very difficult pregnancy.
Yes.
So to save both the life of mother and child. So the church does not believe that life should be targeted in terms of trying to end it.
Let me get this clear then, Archbishop. Under no circumstances should abortion be allowed.
Yeah, abortion
from the Roman Catholic standpoint.
Right, the intentional killing, because it comes under the commandment, thou shalt not kill. And
yes.
From that we withdraw the premise with respect to safeguarding life from conception to natural death.
Oh, and from what we are seeing then is that because of Biden's stance on this,
right?
The Catholic Church in the U.S.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you: is it that most of the bishops so far over there are against Biden and feel that he should be forbidden from taking the Eucharist, or is it they're in the minority?
There's a minority of bishops who think that the Eucharist should not be used to weaponize or to force him into submission.
Minority?
So, yes, there's a small group of bishops.
Archbishop?
Yeah.
Sorry, Archbishop, could you hold that thought? We're at a break. We'll be right back.
Sure.
You're tuned to Love 101, the family station. It's now 7:45.
Digicel will rate you like family, so we'll make you these 5 promises. We will provide you with the best LTE and broadband experience. We will support you 24/7. We will be transparent, no hidden charges or tricky terms and conditions. We will elevate your digital experience. We will listen to your feedback and reward your loyalty. We will keep these 5 promises to you because together we are so much better. Digicel, better together.
The world is full of job opportunities locally and overseas. Let us bring them to you. Register now at Distinction College located at 26 Hagley Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. In 2 to 3 months, earn local and international certificates in housekeeping, food and beverage, food preparation, receptionist, and customer service. Qualified to work in hotels, cruise ships, restaurants, and businesses worldwide. No subjects required, no age limits, no entrance test. Day, evening, and Saturday classes begin very soon at low school fees, easy and flexible payment plans. Call us 356-4167.
Tropical race 4 disease, TR4, is a soil-borne disease that has the potential to wipe out the Jamaican banana and plantain crops. Farmers and visitors must disinfect shoes and tools before entering farms daily. If your banana or plantain crops seem to be wilting, call the Banana Board at 876-922-5490 or 876-922-4327. Jamaica Banana Board, Green Gold, Life Health, and the Environment.
Entrepreneurs, now you've got more support in your corner. Introducing Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center, where entrepreneurs benefit from free training in business management, financial support and guidance from pros, as well as research capabilities. Sagicor Bank, in partnership with the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, brings you this first center of its kind for small entrepreneurs to develop and grow. Let's help you take your business to the next level of success. Contact Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center today. WhatsApp 876-997-3745.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are discussing an interesting topic here, I believe, U.S. Catholic bishops, President Biden, and the forbidding of the Eucharist in that regard. And we have online Archbishop Kenneth Richards, Archdiocese of Kingston. Now, before the break, Archbishop, you're making a point in regards to the Catholic perspective.
Yes. And you had asked with respect to the bishops.
Yes.
And
yes, right.
Yes. So the Cardinal of Washington, D.C., Cardinal Wilson Gregory, has indicated that he will accept and receive President Biden for the Eucharist.
Yes.
And the precept from which he's acting, he says that we are a family, and yes, there's a disagreement.
Right.
He believes that we should not exclude persons from the family because
we can come to the family meal and eat around the table.
Right. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but then other bishops would have problem with the fact that being at the family table, you're not manifesting the signs of communion by being in union with teachings of the church, and so this is where the conflict exists.
Yes. All right. No, you mentioned earlier three important tenets. Let me see if I remember them. The person ought to be baptized in a state of, in union with the teachings of the church, and a state of grace, no mortal sin. And you mentioned when I asked about the 10 Commandments.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So how they measure and determine covetousness as a deterrent then for persons taking communion, the Eucharist?
Well, I mean, because covetousness means that you have an inordinate desire for something that does not belong to you. And I suppose
but everybody has everybody. But how you determine that? I'm saying that is more a mind thing. It's not an outward manifestation.
Remember that this is divine law, I mean, the church didn't make this up. So the 10 Commandments are the precepts that the Lord, God himself laid down for us to obey. So I mean, it's those that the church hold as.
Could I put another way, Archbishop? Do you know of anybody who has been barred from the Eucharist for covetousness?
Well, I mean, no, I've never.
Yes.
The sins that would come up normally is sin against purity, fornication and adultery. The sin against thou shalt not kill, which is including abortion. Also, worship, that you should worship the Lord, your God. They honor your mother and father. Thou shalt not bear false witness, which is a very serious one also.
And of course, thou shalt not kill.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so the abortion comes in. So if Biden were the Prime Minister of Jamaica and a member of your congregation, while holding the same view on abortion, would he be forbidden from partaking of the Eucharist, Archbishop?
Well, the first thing I'd do, is to enter the conversation with him with respect to the fact that as a Catholic and in the public eye, he should give consideration with respect to reflecting the teachings of the church.
Yes.
Yes.
And
hopefully,
and after that, if he says he still holds to his view,
it's very difficult.
Yes, Archbishop.
Yes.
What would happen?
Well, I don't know if I'd hold it. Need to hold the position of Bishop, Archbishop Wilson Gregory. Because it's difficult to deny a person reception of the Eucharist. But at the same time, a person must have regard if you belong to an organization, an institution, if you belong to the church. Due regard for the principles and the precepts of that church is most important. And even, when God was establishing his precepts for the people of Israel, he indicated what are the norms with respect to the covenant relationship. And so this is most important. But it seems that today, persons do not give credence and sufficient thought with respect to values, fundamental precepts, and their expression, so that there's a consistency with what we profess and how we act. I suppose, and so there's a lot of syncretism that is taking place in our world today, and also an individualism. So persons establish their own basis for morality, and so this becomes a great challenge. And persons are socialized this way, and that's why it becomes very difficult and a great conflict with respect to, because then you wonder how free some persons are if they are socialized into thinking independently, autonomously, without a grounding in the formation of their conscience, aligning themselves with the truth, revealed truth, with principles and precepts. And I think this is where the church is struggling, and society, so that person, the free for all with respect to I do what I want, is one of the conflicts and challenges that we face at this time. So there's a way in which we need to reestablish values and principles and precepts as the foundation of our life. It goes back to the principles of philosophy or theological principles, what are their meaning, and how do I embody and how do they instruct and direct my life. And so this is where the challenge exists.
I'm hearing in my spirit somebody in our listening audience saying, didn't Jesus say he without sin cast the first stone? What right would the Catholic Church have, or any other church for that matter, to forbid somebody from participating in the Eucharist or the Holy Communion?
But remember that Jesus also said, the woman caught in adultery, after he said, where everybody departed, he said to her, go and sin no more. So there is a moral obligation too, that flows from our relationship with the Lord, that flows from repentance and contrition, and maintaining a covenant relationship with the Lord. And so where the Lord is merciful, there's going to be a day of judgment. Because if you look at the scriptures, time and time again, there are indications, even in the book of Revelation, with respect to some of the more criteria that will exclude persons from the kingdom of God. And so that's what the church wants to safeguard, and the church have a profound interest and concern for the salvation of souls, and that persons do not endanger their salvation by accommodating, certain immoral activity. I can share a story to you. When I was a young priest, there was a person that was dying in the hospital, and his family was concerned that he did not believe that God could forgive him of the sins that he had committed. And for a week, I went almost every day praying with him, trying to encourage him to just turn to the Lord and ask for mercy, that God is forgiving, using the example of the thief on the cross, etc. But then he kept saying to me, Father, there's no way God can forgive me for the things that I've done. They've been so egregious. And my only prayer was that maybe at his last breath he said, Lord, have mercy, because God is merciful and forgiving, but there's certain things. And so sometimes persons might be living a certain way and make a certain accommodation in their life, but in that moment when they're facing the moment of their last breath, there's a reality that they're confronted with, and it brings them to this, man, I've been doing some things that have been egregious, that my conscience was speaking, but I resisted. And our conscience is also informed by what the church teaches, and the moral law. So sometimes we can say, yes, we need to be flexible, etc. Yes, and we provide guidance and support of persons, but in the end, we still have to stand before the judgment seat of God, and we have to make sure that we are. And so sometimes our own conscience. I think the scripture reading also says, Jesus says, I will not condemn you, but the words that I teach you and I proclaim to you, those are going to is what will condemn you on the last day. Yes. So the teachings of the scriptures and the teaching of God is important to instruct and direct our lives. And that's make sacrifices. Sometimes we have a propensity and a feeling that is motivated from within ourselves, and then also from the culture and the context within which we live, where things are permissible, that sometimes make it easier for us to go one particular way. But we still have a conscience, and the Word of God still is there for us to instruct and direct us with respect to the choices that we make and how we should live.
Yes. And you mentioned choices there, Archbishop Richards, as we wind down this discussion. The possibility of a division now in the United States in regards to the story at hand. What do you envision going forward? How will this work out? How will this pan out?
Well, first of all, when the bishops meet in June, what they are going to be voting on is for a study group with respect to liberating and non with respect to the current challenge. But the opinion of one bishop is that even as the U.S. Conference of Bishops will make that this deliberation and come to some establishment of norms, it will not. If a bishop still wants to give the Eucharist to President Biden or other Catholics who are contrary, they are still free to. Because they are the ordiners in their diocese. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Well, interesting days ahead, Archbishop Richards.
Very interesting time. We are living in interesting time.
Pardon me?
We are living in interesting time.
Yes. And we're happy that Jamaica doesn't have that crisis faced right now. We need to learn from it, eh?
Yes. And we need to start, we need to start practicing what we preach, because sometimes there's so much compromise with respect to values, norms, and the precepts of the church and the scriptures that make it difficult for persons. But then it needs to be a consistency with respect to Christian witness and Christian proclamation. And then sometimes the moral authority of the church will stand good in such situation. But if we find a situation of waffling, etc., then it becomes difficult,
Well said. A fitting note on which to end. Thank you so very much, Archbishop, for joining us.
Good. Okay,
and have a blessed day, sir.
Blessed you.
Yeah. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
Need financial breathing space? Switch to a Sagicor Bank mortgage and get a 2-month payment holiday.